Hi there and welcome to the Malat cookery channel. Today we're going to be making Portuguese Peri Peri style savoury rice using the Malat spice, Portuguese Peri Peri seasoning. So why am I bothering to make a video about savoury rice when you can go to the supermarket and get numerous packets off the shelf? Well, one thing we're trying to do is reduce the chemicals that we consume within our diet. And things like savoury rice, packet savoury rice, packet pastas, noodles, they contain quite a lot of chemicals. So we want to try and take those or reduce the amount of chemicals that we have in our diet. And making savoury rice from scratch is actually very easy. In fact, it could potentially be less time consuming than the 20 minutes it takes to actually boil some of these savoury rice packets. So as usual, a full list of ingredients will be given at the end of the video. So let's start by having a look at the ingredients we're going to need for this recipe. Okay, so what we're going to need for today is 140 grams of rice. This is basmati rice. You can use long grain rice, whatever you like. The guide for rice and pasta is about 70 grams of dried product per adult. So there's 140 grams of rice, 2 teaspoons of Portuguese Peri Peri seasoning, the Malat Portuguese Peri Peri seasoning, and that's about 5 grams. You've got half a teaspoon of turmeric, half a diced green pepper, half a diced red pepper, and half of a small white onion diced. And then we just need some oil in order to sweat off the onions and fry the peppers in. Okay, so the first thing we have to do before we even get to the cooking stage is to soak the rice. Now we soak rice for 2 reasons. One is to get rid of any toxins that may be within the rice. The second reason is to greatly reduce the cooking time. So with something like basmati rice, which would normally take about 14 to 15 minutes to cook, if we soak the rice for an hour, that can greatly reduce the cooking time by as much as half. If we've got something like brown rice, which can take 50 minutes to an hour to cook, if we're going out to work in the morning, place the rice in a bowl, cover it with water, place it in the fridge, and then 8 or 9 hours later, when you come back to cook it for dinner, you can reduce the cooking time by half, which means for brown rice, going from 50 minutes to an hour down to 20 minutes to 30 minutes. Now if you're eating rice maybe once a week, twice a week, that can greatly reduce your fuel bills over the year. So we're going to place some cold water over the rice. So this is now going to soak for about an hour. We're then going to drain it. We're going to rinse it through thoroughly. Then it's ready for actually cooking. So once we've allowed the rice to soak in water for an hour, we've drained the rice, we've rinsed it through thoroughly, the next thing to do is actually start the cooking process. So the first thing we want to do is to just sweat off the onions over a medium heat. And all we're trying to do here is just soften the onion. And that'll take 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, so that's the onions softened. The next thing we want to add is the peppers. So there's about 3 tablespoons of olive oil in here. It's more than you would use for if you were just going to soften onions and peppers, but we are going to add the rice to this, the drained rice to this frying pan. So we're just using a little bit more oil than we would normally use. So we place the peppers into the pan, and again, all we're going to do with these is just to soften them before we add the drained rice. Okay, so these peppers are now soft. They've been frying off for about 2 minutes. You can add a chopped chilli if you want a little bit more spice to your savoury rice dish. If you're using the Malat spice, the Portuguese Peri Peri seasoning, then there is cayenne pepper within the spice blend. It gives it a little bit of heat, not too much. But if you're not using the Malat spice mix and you are just watching this video just to see the technique, then you can add chopped chilli, and you would add it at this stage. So the next thing we want to do is to actually add the spice. So the Malat Portuguese Peri Peri seasoning and the half a teaspoon of turmeric, and we just mix that in. So it's the turmeric that will give the rice its colour. And then we add our drained rice. And we just make sure that the rice is thoroughly coated with both the oil and the spices. We'll cook this through gently now for a couple of minutes, and then we'll add our water. So the rice has been cooking through now for a couple of minutes. Now we want to add our water. So I've boiled the kettle. So I've got some boiling water here, and when you're looking at a guide for how much water to rice, it's a rough guide. I mean, it all depends on which rice you're using, how long you've soaked it for. There are a lot of things that come into play, so this is just a rough guide. But what I normally do is to cook rice through in water so that there's no water left once the rice is cooked. You're looking at around 2.5 times the milliliters compared to grams. So we had 140 grams of dried rice. We're looking at about 350 milliliters of water. Now I'd rather have to add to the actual rice if we haven't got enough water than to drain water off, because if we're draining water off, we're actually draining off some of the spices and the flavours as well. So in goes the water. We're going to bring that up to a simmer and just monitor it. Obviously we've soaked the rice, so the rice could potentially take quicker than you would expect, and obviously we don't want to overcook the rice and turn it to mush. So I'll turn the heat up slightly on this. We're going to bring this to a gentle simmer, and it will take between 7 to 9 minutes to actually cook through. Okay, so this is the rice cooked. It's taken about 9 minutes. Probably got another 30 seconds to go, but it's just about perfect. If you guys are using a different type of rice other than basmati, like long grain, and the 350 mils of liquid isn't quite right, please put it in the comments. I'm always keen to learn. So the total time for this rice, including the prep, about 20 minutes, about the same time as obviously taking a packet of savoury rice from the cupboard and boiling that off. But the main difference is this has been cooked from scratch. It's got none of those chemicals added. It's just all fresh ingredients. So how easy was that? Portuguese Peri Peri style savoury rice, cooked from scratch, all natural ingredients. Please subscribe to the channel, and as usual, if you've enjoyed the video, hit the like button. Just one more thing to do, as always. And just taste what we've actually cooked today. You can't beat home cooked food. Thanks for watching.